Aloha, beautiful beings. Today is my first lock video 12 years later. This month I am celebrating my 12-year Lociversary, and it has been a long teaching journey of growing my freeform locks. So as you can see, I have it up. I'm definitely going to show you and introduce you to all of my locks towards the end of the video, so keep watching. Of course, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications because I plan on bringing some more videos to you. So I go by Empress Hill, and I started growing my locks about 12 years ago in August. I started with about 60 comb coils. So I had the parts and everything, very neat. My hair was probably about a half an inch when I started, so you can see my scalp. My sides, my edges have always been pretty thin, so I was always a little insecure about that, even at the beginning of my lock journey. For the first year or so, I was retwisting my hair on my own. I would use anything from shea butter to coconut oil. Eventually I started making my own products, which is a whole nother video on its own. But within that time, the first year, I would twist it probably no more than once a month. After the first year, by year 2, I was no longer twisting, but I was separating my locks. So as they started to grow together, probably every 3 months or so, as I was washing them, I would just kind of rip them apart. And one thing I noticed right away was that they always grew back together the same way. So that's when I got to a point where I thought to myself, I'm going to just let them do what they do. I'm not going to go against it and keep separating them. That was the true start of my freeform lock journey. During this process, I had so many people asking me, and this is friends, family, people close to me, as well as strangers asking me, when are you going to get your hair done? People say I look homeless and all of these other things. And it had me thinking to myself, am I doing something wrong? And this was during a time where I had only ever seen maybe a couple of other people that were freeforming as well. I broke down probably about a year, just over a year into my journey, and I ended up getting them retwisted. I went to a salon, and that was the biggest mistake ever. I remember not only paying a bunch of money, but after my hair was washed and retwisted, I was under the dryer, I could feel my scalp burning. I was like, this is really defeating the purpose of what I'm trying to do. So back to starting my freeform journey, I started loving my hair and loving the process. During the beginning, a lot of my locks defied gravity in a way that they didn't lay down. They kind of stuck out all over the place. And starting with 60 locks, it took probably about 5 to 6 years for them to really start to grow together and thicken up. You can see where they started growing together, and I have about 2.5 inches where my hair thins out at the complete ends. Shutting out all of the noise, I found myself on this journey, and it wasn't just about growing my hair, it was about being wholesome and spiritual and kind of really being able to connect with my ancestors and really enjoying life outside of just work and making money. This was really a life-changing moment, and it all started with my locks. I wanted to leave you all with some of my top 5 tips for freeform lockers. First things first, less is more. When it comes to anything that you put in your hair, whatever you put in must come out. So even if you're using the most natural products in your hair, it can still cause buildup, it can still clog pores, and it can still lead to a bunch of issues down the road. I went from, again, using things like shea butter to coconut oil to my very own hemp butter. And what I realized is when I was washing my hair, I needed to remove that. So I was using like harsher shampoos, and that was very stripping and drying. I don't want that weight that you get. My hair is actually really light. When it's wet, it carries more weight, but it's not as heavy as I hear people describing when they get their hair wet. And I know that's absolutely because there's nothing in my hair other than hair itself. If you are going to use products or shampoos, ingredients wise, you want your components of your products to be very minimalistic. Again, less is more. Tip number 2, cherish your journey. Your hair is not going to be exactly like anyone else's. I don't care how many other YouTubers you've seen with awesome dreads and they're telling you how they got it. Your hair is always going to be different. You have different texture hair. You have different sleeping patterns. All of these are going to affect the way that your freeform locks grow. So never try to compare your locks to anyone else's. Tip number 3, moisturize from within. We're taught from a very young age that we need to oil our scalp. And I believe that in a lot of cases that is counterproductive. The only time I tend to put oil in my hair is if I specifically notice dry areas, or after, I've washed my hair, I might literally use like a nickel size amount or less of my all-in-one hemp butter, rub it, and then just do like a quick run through, and that's it. Think of your hair as a growing plant. Your plant needs lots of water, and that is absorbed from the roots and from what you have in your body. So I start my day with a full cup of water, and I try to continuously drink water throughout the day. I personally like to abide by a plant-based or vegan lifestyle without processed foods. I feel like when I did change and commit to this lifestyle, that my hair started to grow thicker. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I used to always have thinning on the sides, and now that I've been able to focus more on what I eat and making sure that I drink enough water, I don't need to oil my scalp. I myself suffered from dry scalp for many years. The only permanent solution for my dry scalp was to moisturize from within. Patience is a virtue. Now, everybody's lock process is going to look different, and depending on how fine or coarse your hair is, that could take a longer or a shorter amount of time. I noticed my hair really starting to lock after the first 9 months to a year, and even after that, getting to the point of my freeform locks where they're laying down and they're more uniform, that took maybe even 5 years. This isn't a quick hairstyle. I know that there's other options for quickness, such as the faux locks. My last tip for you is trust the process, okay? Trust the process. Know that your body is going to provide all of the oils and all of the minerals you need as long as you're feeding it and treating it correctly. That is everything that I have to share for you today. But wait, what does my hair look like? So I saved this part until the end of the video for a reason, and I want to show you my freeform locks 12 years later. So here is my hair, and as you can see, they are pretty long. Let me stand up so you can see just how long. They go about to my waist, And I thought it would be fun to introduce you all to some of my locks. Let's start with how many locks I have. So from the root, I have about 10 locks. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So 10 locks from the root. My longest lock would have to be this one right here, and it is longer than my arm actually. For my shortest lock, I have new locks that have begun growing in the front of my crown. So the shortest one would probably be this one right here, if you can see it. And this just formed on its own. It's not anything that I twisted or incorporated. It was just part of the process. I didn't really start growing this. I call it my second set of locks. I didn't really start growing this second set of locks until the last couple of years. And a lot of times when I do start growing these smaller locks, they might end up growing together. For my roundest lock, because not all of my locks are completely round at this point, some of them are flat. This is probably my roundest lock, and it stayed in a nice spiral form. And I can show you the ends of my locks to see a little bit more about how they did grow together. You can't see the ones that are about the very end because I'd say every 3 to 4 years or so, those become very brittle and eventually they fall off. I usually wait until that point. I don't necessarily cut them before that, but you can see what is left of these split end type situation. And once upon a time, I had so many of these split ends. Remember, I started with about 60 locks. So going from 60 to 10, there was definitely a lot of them growing together. You can see that this one has what used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different locks, and now it is 1. For my biggest lock, as in thickest, would have to be this one right here. This is probably my thickest lock, and it is pretty flat. And you can see that it is several locks that have grown together, and now it's one big lock. And there you have it. Those are my lovely freeform locks. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, definitely leave a comment. Let me know so I can continue to share them with you. If there's any other thing that you'd like to see or learn from my journey, also leave a comment below, and I will be happy to get back to you all. But for now, enjoy the rest of this beautiful day, and thank you for tuning in. Peace.